Welcome, friends, to Reality Test. What is reality testing, you may ask? Well, it's something we all do every day, maybe with our loved ones over dinner, with coworkers at the water cooler, etc., when we check our subjective or personal emotions, thoughts, and so forth against objective or sort of more agreed upon fact-based reality. Although, because Dr. Ray and I, Dr. Kay, are social constructionists, we don't actually believe there's one true objective reality, but rather our own personal versions of it constructed in the context of relationships. But you get the idea. So here in Reality Test, we're going to be testing the castmate realities and the producer antics of our favorite reality TV shows against what we know as licensed psychologists about the reality out here, off of our TVs. We hope you'll join us as we attempt to reality test. Listen, y'all, we have a lengthy version of our disclaimer in the show description text, also in our old episodes, but we do ethically need to at least include part of it at the start of each episode. So here's our briefest version of the disclaimer. If you've heard it before, you can skip ahead 30 seconds, or for the old episodes, 2 minutes. So although we're licensed psychologists, psychotherapists, supervisors in the context of our professional roles, we are not acting as therapists in the context of this pod, neither for you nor for the reality castmates we discuss. We will give our opinions as our whole human selves, albeit supported by our psychological knowledge, and we will talk about diagnoses rather than assigning them, as we cannot ethically assign diagnoses without formal psych assessment. But both the opinions and diagnoses we discuss might easily be erroneous, as we don't personally know the folks in reality TV shows. That's it. Thanks, y'all. Now check out our campy theme song.
Are you feeling stressed? Your head's all messed? Well, let's forget all the rest. Fuck it, we're blessed. Cause it's time to talk reality test. Come with us. Let's reality test. Welcome to Reality Test. I'm Dr. Ray.
And I'm Dr. Kay. Feel free to check in and take a seat wherever you'd like in the audience for our awards show.
Woo! Round of
back.
applause.
Yes. Standing O, standing O. Like
yes,
for Jen, by the way. That was
day.
so sweet. I loved that.
Yeah, she deserved a stand. She deserves all the standing ovations. Oh my God. We love you, Jen.
Oh, we absolutely do. And that is something that came out of it, is like, even though production was sort of torturing her, which I really do feel like they were, I also feel like we came out of it all still loving Jen so much and like caring for her. And both Marcus and Devin did not get claps or applause. I think Marcus due to the allegations and Devin due to his absolute villainy.
Yeah. He got some claps at the beginning, but he sure as shit didn't after his performance. Man,
no.
It was brutal.
Which is ironic, right? Because I feel like he came into the Out of the Final Rose thinking people were going to be like actually kind of rosy towards him. Like I think in some way he thought it would be positive, so he didn't come in prepared. So like the fact he didn't come in prepared for what the reaction was meant that he just kept going downhill in his responses there. Wild.
Which frankly, I'm happy about because it made Jen look better, which I think is the way she deserves to look after her treatment of, or I'm sorry, after his treatment of her, which was awful.
Agreed.
As we discussed in our last episode in so much detail. So please go back and listen if you haven't already.
Check it out. Oh. That was a good one. That was a good, like, not quite the testosterboned, but like slightly adjacent. I liked that.
I know. I have a limited array of sounds that I can kind of go through. But yeah, I
like
wanted to do
sounds.
testosterbone, but I was like, no, we're going to try something different here.
No, I liked that. I liked it a lot. I like that they're like trumpet noises. I really like that.
My partner plays the trumpet. I do not, but perhaps he inspires me.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
That's so fun. I love that ends up being the noise that you're good at. And you are quite good at it. It could be a trumpet and I wouldn't know.
Thank you so much. I tried to play his trumpet once and it went horribly badly. It turns out it's really hard to play instruments. I thought it would just be easy and cute, but I was wrong.
No, I hear you there. I used to play the flute and it's actually quite hard. Like wind instruments are tough.
I played the flute it was during recess in 5th grade. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this like once a week. And then I played it for a week and I was like, nope. And I went back to recess. So good for you.
Well, you shouldn't have to do that instead of recess, I have to say, because recess is also
I agree. Right. Recess is a key element of my day. And I thought, this is not going well. Recess usually goes pretty well. So it just seemed like an obvious decision in my mind.
I don't come out of recess feeling inept. So we'll go back to that.
Yes. And we did. And here we are.
I love it.
But anyway, as exciting as fifth grade recess was, that is not what we're here to do today. We are here to talk about our lovely awards.
Yes.
And so shall we dive right in?
Yes. And are you pulling from Bachelorette and others? I'm pulling from also The Challenge and Big Brother.
Ooh, I am Bachelorette and Summer House season 6.
Excellent. Okay. So tell me, what is your mess that you are protesting? So this award is called, as all our awards have test somewhere in there because our podcast is called Reality Test. This one's called Protest This Mess. Meanest, saddest, drunkest, most obnoxious, etc. moment or castmate.
So Lindsay and Carl got into a fight in season 6 of Summer House. That was alcohol fueled on Lindsay's part. I think that Carl, it wasn't going well, and I think he just should have waited till the next day. It was about Danielle. There was a lot of misunderstandings between Danielle and Lindsay during season 6, and they had kind of a lot of drama going on. And Carl talked to Danielle, and his conversation with her went much better, which I feel like is a thing that happens sometimes. I think sometimes women maybe internalize sexism. Maybe we just also expect more of each other. The same thing, like if there's an argument with two people, it will go better between a woman and a man than it will like between a woman and a woman, even though they're kind of fighting about the same thing. So like Danielle and Carl were able to like squash the beef, which was about like Danielle feeling hurt that they were a couple pretty quickly. For Danielle and Lindsay, it kind of went on and was more complicated for, I think, all sorts of reasons, including that Lindsay struggles to like check in with Danielle about how she's doing. Like she could do a better job, I think, being a friend to Danielle. Yeah. But anyway, Carl, after his conversation with Danielle, went back to Lindsay went out that night, came back, was like, how did it go? And he was like, it actually went really well. Lindsay kind of like went off the handle and she was clearly drunk. Like she had had a lot to drink. And I think the conversation would have gone better sober. I think sometimes bringing sensitive topics up when people are intoxicated just doesn't tend to go well.
Right.
And it was kind of a cringe fight. And I just felt to myself, I'm like, I think they should have waited until the next day. And I think this may have gone differently, but
yes, totally. Right. Because our judgment brain gets shut down when we drink. Like the first thing it affects is our judgment brain, prefrontal cortex, which is the part of our brain that like sort of one of the parts that differentiates us from animals because it's from the neocortex. And so it's the part of us that's able to say like, right, like he's trying, or like, right, I can tell that he whatever. And so if that's offline, then it makes it all about like animalistic sort of reaction to it, where it's sort of like, is this person out to get me, or are they here to help me? And if there's any sign of out to get me, then we quickly go into fight or flight, and then it becomes a fight. And
I feel for Lindsay because I think there's a complicated thing where Daniela rides really hard. Or Danielle, sorry, I don't know why I called her Daniela. That was weird. Danielle rides really hard for Lindsay. And there's this sort of like white woman thing where I don't think Lindsay does the same sort of thing for her. But I also think I think Lindsay often gets it from all angles, like a lot of people kind of accusing her of things or coming at her. And I think sometimes she underreacts to certain things that are pretty egregious and then overreacts to other things that maybe don't just, I think it's like very flooding for her. And I think she struggles with how to manage all that's coming at her sometimes. So it's complicated, but it felt a little messy in this episode where they were fighting.
No, totally. And I think you brought up a good point about like what's a safe target. Like isn't like a woman friend a safer target for some arguments than like your partner or than like a male target, say, or whatever. And I totally agree. There's some internalized sexism, but then I think also, right, like some internalized, not internalized, but implicit racism, and sort of also then the like piece about misogyny, where we believe that women in particular are particularly whatever, good at this and therefore are held to a higher expectation, or bad at this and therefore we get, it's easy to get mad at them for that because that's something we usually see that they don't do well at, or whatever. And there can be all sorts of versions of that. Yeah. Oh, that's tough. Great example. And yeah, they're the three of them, quite a dynamic there.
For sure.
I have such good news for you, which is I remembered the word. The word is exploit.
Yay!
It's not extort, exploit. Yep. That's
exploit.
the word.
That is the word. I was going for even harder words. I was like, it's got to be something. So that makes sense. Yeah,
right.
That's a perfect descriptor.
Exactly. We're exploiting Jen through the finale and watching her watch the proposal. And so go back and listen to our other episode for why that word was escaping me and what was happening here for me to just randomly say a word to you all now. Because now I'm going to go on to talk about something slightly different, which is that my mess that I was protesting was Devin on After the Final Rose, just sort of in general, because it really represented the time since he proposed and how he treated Jen during that time. Because he was just like that, I think, now. It felt like that was the same idea of what we were seeing here. It was not encouraging. I think also, just to like quickly mention, it's not when we are like critical or sort of adding some constructive criticism to folks and their presentations, like it is not at all to encourage cyberbullying in any way. Like that is not at all how we feel. Everybody actually is a human and is doing the best they can. So there's no one that we would ever encourage any sort of like bullying of at all. And also, I think he had some room for growth in the way that he reacted during that. And I think also in particular in terms of the victim blaming. I didn't like how he was sort of pretending to take accountability, but was also saying, well, it was your expectations that I couldn't live up to. I also felt like he said a lot, but said nothing, just like he criticized Sam for. Yeah.
Yes. It was nonsense.
It was pretty ironic because he did give him shit for that. I mean, right? Like we're particularly good at pointing out something in someone else that we also do. We're not good at seeing that we do it. It's called projection. So he definitely called Sam out for something that he also is a little bit prone towards doing. And so the idea too, like, right, like I brought this up on the last episode, that it wasn't an expectation Jen set, it's the expectation of the show that you get engaged. And so like saying that he couldn't live up to her expectations really was frustrating to me. I also felt like when she brought up at the beginning, she says like, right, I can understand changing your mind, but I can't understand how you've treated me since the breakup. So then he goes on to say, I don't want to talk about what happened after the breakup. Like, right, of course you don't want to, because that's the one thing she said she couldn't understand because it was atrocious. So no wonder you don't want to talk about it. The fact you added Maria right after the breakup, even though she has a public profile, you can see her profile without adding her. No reason to add her.
Idiot.
And right? Like clearly, yes, everyone did go on the show to be with Maria, thinking that since they even started filming with her. That doesn't mean that in fact, it means you have to be more careful about that in terms of Jen's feelings, because of course she's always gonna be doubting how she sort of measures up to Maria. Oh, heartbreaking. And then I also didn't like, as I said, the sort of like victim blaming and also the idea of credit taking. So the fact he said, I watched me contribute to your regression, even though he said, yes, on your own, you're flourished, which is something that the show wasn't doing. They were sort of taking credit for her flourishing. He still took credit for her regression, which by the way is wild. Like just the way he's like, your regression. You were not the person to say that. I don't appreciate you saying that about her. I don't know exactly what they meant either. We had talked about what they might have meant on the last episode. Go check it out if you'd like to hear what we think they might have meant. But the idea of like sort of still taking credit, even though it was for the negative thing, you're still sort of being like, this is something I did. I had power over. And I just didn't like that. So really, there was very little at all that I would give positive feedback about for Devin and his showing on the After the Final Rose. So I protest it a little bit, and also in the kindest of ways. How about you?
That was perfect. I think I said mine first about Lucy and Carl. But yes. But what about the doing the mostest? What was your most cringe or embarrassing moment that you saw?
This one I went to the challenge for, because on the challenge this season, they have a structure where whoever wins the elimination chooses 2 targets from each era. There's 4 eras. And so after the first time people did that, all of the eras talked amongst themselves and talked about, for some of them, they were like, let's just go in rotation. Like, you will volunteer here, I'll volunteer there, volunteer. And so for 2 of the eras who had talked about the fact they were going to volunteer, and only in the men, by the way, only amongst men did this happen. But 2 of the eras, there was a man who said they would volunteer next, who then didn't, who then like put their arm down and, sort of said, Jesus, take the wheel or whatever, sort of. And then for both of them, they got out of having to be nominated too. So not only did they not volunteer like they said they would, but then it sure enough paid off, and someone else got nominated instead of them. And like in both cases, the people who got nominated instead of them were sort of like, what the fuck? Like, I thought you were like doing better at this game, and like now you're being an asshole. Like, whatever. That's so rude. And yeah, I kind of think that was like doing the mostest. It was a little cringe that they were saying they would do one thing and then just absolutely not doing it. It was just sort of ghastly. And 2 of them, just wild.
Wow. Typical men not taking any responsibility for their what they say they were going to do.
Going in hard on the men.
Yes.
I think it's the fact that there was so much like Devin and Marcus like representation of male views on this episode, you know, the finale. It's easy for us to just sort of feel like a little extra sass towards some men right now. And yeah, sure enough, they really did not back up their feelings, just like Devin. Sure enough.
Indeed.
How about you? Doing the most tests.
Speaking of, Devin, as we've talked about, as you said beautifully just a moment ago, Devin had no genuine apology or understanding of his behavior, what he did wrong. It was embarrassing. It was embarrassing. I think I felt embarrassed by how like silly he sounded. He just didn't even have a good angle for himself.
No,
like he
even
didn't
laughing
even
at one point.
Yeah, it was absurd. And I'm glad about it again, because it made Jen look good, but it just, damn, it was like embarrassing how little he thought about how he might come off at this reunion. It was kind of wild to me.
Yeah.
It was very embarrassing.
Very much so. I totally agree. No apology at all. In fact, Jesse apologized in a more meaningful way. It's just like really embarrassing. Oh, excellent. How about testing 1, 2, 3? Testing 1, 2, 3. Best production ad. In this case, I might guess that you're going to do the worst producer antic, but maybe not. You can either do best or worst producer antic for this one.
You guessed right. I said not letting the men know ahead of time who the bachelorette would be, or which it sounds like I didn't realize that they were filming her season a little bit before. So yeah, as we talked about this in the last episode, what we kind of said was they should have maybe recast the show with the idea that they had an Asian American woman, and Jen in particular, in the lead, and gone for men who were actually interested in her. And they did not do that, and that set her up for failure. Yep. So that was my choice.
Yes, totally. And like I would even add like someone like a Jonathan or Grant. Both of them seem to genuinely like her. So if you're not going to recast and you're not going to find people who are anti-racist, at least help the people who are anti-racist to get further in the show. Like that should have been a different scenario. Like help coach Jonathan to say I love you, you know, or whatever. There could have been ways that they really actually changed the outcome of that to be someone who's more genuine. So totally agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. And mine's similar too. It's like worst ever. I said worst ever producer antic associated with traumatizing Jen. Big time traumatized her with this finale. Wild.
Ugh. Very depressing. Hate it. 0 out of 10 stars.
Exactly. Do not recommend.
And what about holding castmates accountable? So this is our test results. We are reading their results after being tested. The most or least growth.
Okay. So the test results award I gave was actually towards Chelsea on Big Brother. So this is a Black woman who I'm really in support of. She like won the first or maybe second HOH. Yeah, second. She's an incredible player, really good social game, really good strategy. And she's also won challenges. I thought that she worked really well with what the scenario was. She came out with like flying colors at the start, but then like her alliance got targeted. And so then she like lost a really important member of her alliance. So then the way she was able to flex and change and adapt to the changing household and then create new relationships to be able to stay safe and even vote out the number one challenge competition or beast, which was Tucker. She really just like, I thought was an incredible, showed a lot of growth because it was a lot of adaptation I felt in that moment. So I'm really pro Chelsea on Big Brother. Really big fan.
Oh, go Chelsea. Happy to
Chelsea,
hear it.
Get it.
So this isn't an original take. Especially if you've been listening to us. Devin and Marcus. I think the finale in their like reunion sort of element of it, the after the final rose, is kind of a test result in itself, because it's a opportunity for people to show change, growth, reflection on their behavior, and have a bit of a redemption arc for themselves. Neither of them seem to really reflect on the ways in which they were harmful to Jen in any meaningful way. And so they have the least growth for me, both of them. Truly. Yes. So it's an obvious award, kind of like when a very obvious movie gets the Oscar. Like this is the Oscar for worst human to both of these people in this specific context on this show. And again, they're both doing their best, as Dr. Kay so lovely said. And the way they acted in this finale was upsetting.
They had time, right? They had months to see a therapist. They had months to talk to production, to get a PR person, to be able to have a different kind of narrative coming into After the Final Rose, and they just didn't do it. They didn't seem to get any sort of growth out of even watching themselves back, which should have been a big, impetus for growth.
And even if it wasn't genuine, at least in showing growth or saying different things, they could at least provide an example for other men who might identify with them. And they didn't even do that. So it's a bummer.
They also didn't promote other people's growth. Exactly.
No.
Oh, so true. Well, our next award is the TESTosterboned Award, which is our most patriarchal, or you could also say white supremacist, misogynist, and or heterosexist award. Because this is like somebody whose testosterone took over and brought them into some not so good situations.
Yes. Oh, I said the Devin invalidating to Jen. You became a person that it wasn't who you were trying to become or whatever he said. I think you had the exact quote better. But now I want to do a different one because I feel like, so I'm trying to think of something else. This felt complicated and racially complicated, and I'm not sure. So Sierra, Amanda, and Paige, Amanda was having difficulty with her fertility. And so all these three women, which I think is a great moment, all took fertility tests to kind of support Amanda because she was afraid. Amanda's and Paige both came back fine. Sierra's, who wasn't even thinking about that, didn't come back they both said, you'll probably go to menopause at 51 or whatever. Hers, Sierra said, you might be earlier than 51. And I was thinking to myself, is this app racist? Is it saying this because she's a Black woman, or is this something hormonal? But it felt really brutal because it was like Sierra and Paige were doing this in support of Amanda. And then Sierra got hurt in the process. So I don't know maybe the app is racist. Maybe it's looking at systemic racism and how that impacts people and impacts their stress levels. I have no idea. It didn't feel nice to see. It was sad. I don't know how it perfectly fits into Testosterboned, but something about it got my hairs a little standing up, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. Could be part of racism, at least in the way that because our culture is so white supremacist, people of color do have worse health outcomes. And because of that, because of minority stress and so forth. So at the very least, that's likely relevant to her scenario. Yeah. Oh, very upsetting. Thank you for sharing that. That's so sad. I can't imagine just doing something out of, support and then finding that out. Your first,
yeah,
dude, what the fuck? Yeah. That's awful. Your first one though, I also chose Devin. I think he is the perfect testosterone awardee in general for all of his mistreatment of Jen and all of the bullshit, the sort of MAGA fueled views of immigration, race, gender, and so forth. So because of that, I was thinking the specific example I'd use for this one was the fact that he seemed to not be able to handle her proposing to him. Sort of seemed like it took away his control. Ooh. He didn't seem to be so happy with that. He even said, whether you like it or not, I'm going to propose too. It was something like that. And I just was okay, kind of unhappy. So I don't know. The thing I am upset by is the way that he kept saying on the After Final Rose, as soon as we proposed, it just felt different. I wonder if he even said directly to her, the fact you proposed to me made me feel weird. That took away my manhood or whatever. I wonder if he even blamed her for that because of the fact she proposed to him, which would be so fucking upsetting. I would be so pissed if that's true, God. But it's possible. And I hate bet it.
He did. Ugh. Disgusting. Mm-hmm. Boo. Devin, we're not pleased with you. Please work on yourself.
Just get some outside, perspectives, and maybe have someone sort of offer a mirror in terms of some of your perspectives that are a little bit more limiting, because your own life will be happier if you can welcome a broader range of affect and a broader range of understanding of people, and including yourself. Because I'm sure there's some self-blame too for him because he's so judgmental of others. He probably is also self-judgmental. But maybe so much so that if it is narcissistic traits, then it means that's covered up by some self-aggrandizing. But anyway, I'm going too deep. He
struggled with depression, and and he talked about being bullied for being for being in a larger body as a child. There's some complicated stuff here, and there's more work to be done.
Yeah, and for us all, frankly, we can all benefit.
Yes, of course. Of course, of course. What about the Bechdel test? So this is the most feminist, anti-racist, gay moment of the week.
I think Jen gets the most feminist, really just for standing up for herself and calling Devin out. Yeah. Despite having wanted to have the conversation off camera. I liked that she started with saying, like, this doesn't mean anything because we both talked about having this off camera. The fact you wouldn't do it is slimy, by the way. Like, it's slimy. He wouldn't talk to her and just wanted the first time to be on camera. Gross. I don't like it. So I thought she was feminist icon energy from Jen. How about you, dear Dr. Ray?
Jen's proposal.
Yeah.
She did the thing. It was a big deal. And she deserves credit for that, even though it was made ugly by Devin's behavior following it. Also, conversely, like, it was really feminist and kind of Paige and Sierra to choose to get a fertility test with Amanda because she wouldn't do it herself. It sucks how it turned out, but it was really cool of them to do that with her because of her sort of avoidant anxiety traits, where she just didn't want to touch that with a 10-foot pole.
Right.
Again, sucks how it turned out, but it was really, I thought it showed like great sisterhood that they did that.
Totally. Which could also really go under our next award, because the next one was they were the bestest of friends. They were the worstest of friends. It sounds like they were some of the bestest of friends. I'm sure you have a different example, but it also fits under that. So what would your award for the worstest of friends and the bestest of friends go to? Best or worst relationship or friendship moments?
So Danielle and Lindsay this season are just completely missing each other. And I think they've both made mistakes here. Like, I think Danielle is not acknowledging how hurt she is that, you know, they used to be the three amigos. Now they're not. Now Danielle and now Lindsay and Carl are together. Lindsay, I don't think acknowledges her own kind of focus on self and how maybe she leaves others in the dust. And I think that dynamic, they're just missing each other because that's kind of the core issue there. Also, Danielle and Carl dated. So that's another, it's weird on multiple levels.
Pinky, totally.
Yeah. And so I feel for that. And it's also relatable content because sometimes friendships go through periods like this where you have to work through things and they're struggling with real friendship issues, which I appreciate. Like, sometimes there is someone in a friendship who's more of a caretaker and the other person is more the talker. And Danielle's struggling with that right now. So it's complicated. It's interesting. It's nuanced. And I don't know where they are now. I'm interested to see how the seasons progress, but I feel for them.
This isn't on one of the seasons, so it's not a spoiler, but I heard that after Carl and Lindsay broke up, that he got back with Danielle, at least short term. Yeah.
Stop.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Wow.
Don't know if that followed through or if that ever became public, but it was public, at least for a second, because I heard it on a podcast, but I don't know how long that lasted for. But yeah, so there's been a little bit of a flip-floppy situation there.
Weird.
I mean, the three of them are so close. So, yeah, exactly. I mean, that's tough. It's actually quite a lot like the Caitlyn and Tayshia drama about Zach, and that Caitlyn is now doing Zach. Yeah.
Oh, my God. I can't believe that. It's kind of upsetting.
Very upsetting. In all the directions. I mean, I think it's tough. That was just really tough. And I'm not sure, you know, it makes you wonder, like, how close they ever were. It sounds like they kind of weren't that close, even though they were co-hosting for a time. But like, even though Caitlyn came out and said that she was like there when Tayshia was crying and didn't want to come out, and that Caitlyn had her back and but they hadn't at least talked for months when they talked this last time for Caitlyn to ask about dating Zach, and it was a tough convo. Yeah, I think one thing I heard, which I think is a really great point, is like, of the two of them though, like, who talks a lot about it? Caitlyn. Like, Tayshia like never really talks about any of this, and she sort of keeps to herself. So I think that's an important note to take, just in terms of attention and so forth. Not to say it's bad, but just different.
Publicity. I don't know.
Right? Some publicity. And so there's like different motives in terms of what you're going to say on the podcast if you're sort of like looking for some more, you know, like just publicity, which is fair. That's like sort of what you've been geared towards focusing on if you are using publicity to make a living. So it makes a lot of sense.
Totally. Yeah.
Anyway, so mine was actually from the challengers. The challenge. Oh, okay. My point was that how close all the challengers are. The show is called The Challenge. How close all the challenges are. So this is like basically like an all-star season, if you will, although every season is because they always have, repeat vets. But in this case, all 40 people who started on the show at the beginning of the season were all like legends of their eras. And so the fact is, frankly, all of them know each other really well, love each other, at least amongst the older eras in particular. So it was fun. Like they had a pool party night one. In this last episode, they had a night out, which is always like just so much like the old days. They always do. Like every season, they go out to bars a couple nights out of or regularly, frankly, at least once a week. But so the pool party, which was a toga party, or one of them was a toga party, and then the night out just felt very like reminiscent of the old days. And I thought that was so sweet. And I loved it. And there's also a little like romantic relationship happening between Emily and Dan, which I really like for anybody that watches the show. Super cute. And so those are the positive, and I would say the worstest of friends would be Devin and Jen, because X on that relationship. Bye, over.
Yes, indeed. Well, what was your favorite testimonial moment? So this is the best confessional or straight to camera moment.
I think for me, also from the challenge, it would be Derek talking about the decision to put Era 1 versus Era 3 in the elimination with Era 4, just because he was so funny, but also spot on. And so Derek is like a player I've liked since the very beginning. He's been like a long-term player. He's from Era 1, which means he was from the beginning of the show, the challenge, from many, many years ago, 2 decades maybe or something, almost. And he won. He won against a new buck, like against somebody who was just brand new, super strong player, who's a soccer player, like really strong player. And he beat him in elimination. And it was so exciting and thrilling. And I was so happy for him. So both I bring up his testimonial to just give him props for winning the elimination, and also because his testimonial was quite funny. He's a hoot still to this day. Support of Derek. That is
Yay,
it.
Derek.
Yes, get it, Derek.
That is excellent.
How about you?
Yeah, my testimonial is about Danielle again. So she is celebrating her culture because there's another Latino man in Summer House this year whose name I was just trying to Google, and I don't remember his name. I don't think he comes back. I don't love him. He's kind of weird to the women, but I loved his relationship with Danielle because I think they connected over their culture, and they had a night together where they like cooked Latino dishes. Danielle's Puerto Rican, and she seemed really proud and like talked about the ways in which she's had to like stifle herself in finance and like also in the Hamptons to be around predominantly white folks. Right. And so I really liked that. And I liked seeing that part of her. I thought it was cool and
I love that. Oh, I love that. That's so cool. Yay.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Did you find out the name? Oh, guess what? I found out the show I was talking about. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yes, what was it?
I was thinking of Tell Me Lies, which also, by the way, has already started coming out, but it's so fucking good. I'm so excited. I'm so excited for it coming out.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yes.
I half watched the first episode of that show, but I was like kind of doing work, like a lot of work, so I didn't really watch it very well.
Give it a shot. It's steamy. It's steamy. It's a little bit YA, like young adult kind of vibes, but I think it also does cater to a little bit older audience too, and it's quite good. Quite good.
That sounds awesome. You can count me in.
Yay. It's on Hulu. If anybody would like to see it. It's on episode 3, I think. I actually have not watched them yet, even though I'm so excited for it coming out, which is funny. But I didn't even realize it had started coming out because I don't pay attention to Hulu premieres as much. But this means I have 3 episodes to watch just whenever I would like. And how fun is that?
That is a lovely present, I would say.
Yes, right? I love that when you like figure out something's been coming out and you're like, wait, I have things to catch up on. It's amazing.
I haven't watched this yet. Yes. Yeah. Good stuff.
So, yeah. Love this with you. This was like quite the wildest of episodes. The like finale and the after final rose was some of the wildest we've seen in a long time. And it does feel exploitative of Jen, and I don't like that. But I did also appreciate like some of the learning that can come from this and the like public awareness about producer torture. It sounds like that's a big dialogue right now in the news and people's reactions to it, which is so important because like, right, like Unreal talks about this, the fictional show on Netflix, like replaying on Netflix right now, talks about this. But a lot of people don't talk enough about how much production has a say and how many of these people are mistreated. And so I really appreciate that that's becoming more of a public conversation. Very key part of this. And then also that she became a Dancing with the Stars castmate. So she's off to have some fun, which I'm so into. Get it.
Get it, Jen. We love that for you. Dancing with the Stars really supports a lot of feminist arcs. I like it. I don't watch Dancing with the Stars, but it supported our girl Ariana, supported Jen, probably other people that I'm forgetting, but I'm happy about those two. Charity was on Dancing with the Stars.
Charity
Some
was.
people
Hannah Brown
really
won
like.
it.
Oh, that's
Hannah
right.
Brown
So
won it.
it's a good show. Don't watch it, but you go Dancing with the Stars.
Get it? Yeah, I totally agree. And it's fun. I've seen it like on and off a few seasons. I've like watched for like a little bit or whatever. You can kind of come in and out of it nicely, which I appreciate. And I love dance. So for that reason, it's fun. But I'm not like a diehard watcher. But I will be definitely supporting Jen and will vote for her regardless of watching because go Jen. You need to win.
Go Jen. Yeah. Yes, we love you. Fuck those men. They were never there for you. The cards were stacked against you. And I'm sorry that happened.
Unfair treatment. Totally. And you're going to go kick some ass now in PA school after you do Dancing with the Stars. Go kick some ass. Get it?
Woo!
Yay. I've now said that like 12 times. Like, get it. Anywho.
We should make a song. Get it.
Yeah, right. That's just our new theme song. It has nothing to do with our name. Get it. Although we could also make a theme song about our social media because that is always a repetitive part of this as well. But we'll just say rate, review, subscribe, and check out our social medias at the bottom, social media account names at the bottom of the episode descriptions. And download as always, even if you have to delete it after because you don't have room. We'd love it for you to download. That would help us eventually get advertisers. And what a hoot this was. Love doing this with you, Dr. Ray.
Love it as well. It was a pleasure, Dr. K. And I am so excited to see you next week. And we, dear listeners, will see you next session.
Bye.